Hello, everyone. This is Penelope Megiglianiti, and we are live with my dear friend Delia Perry. Delia is the host of Girls for Greatness. She's an amazing woman. I love her podcast. I love what she's talking about. It's all about us women and how to find our greatness. And yes, we are all girls.
That's right.
Yes, that's right. Welcome, Delia. Welcome to this Facebook Live, and thank you so much for accepting to have you with me here
Of
today.
of
So,
course, Penelope. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. Anytime I get to talk to you is a treat.
yeah, and we were talking before we start this live that we've met 2014, October
Mm-hmm.
2014, La Jolla, San Diego.
Yep.
Um, it's amazing how apart we are distance wise, but how we manage to stay in touch and
Yes,
during all these years to become good friends. Yeah.
I agree. It's such a blessing.
Yeah. So tell me about you. Tell us about you. I don't want to talk. You tell us about
No,
you.
gosh. As Penelope said, my name is Delia Perry, and I am in Ohio, in Toledo, Ohio, United States. And I am a mother of two. I have a 16-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son, and a husband that I've almost been married to now for almost 25 years. So that's been an amazing journey in and of itself, and again, a huge blessing. But I also am the host of the Girls for Greatness podcast, as Penelope mentioned, and I've been doing that now for about 4 years. It's just been an amazing journey of just, I think, self growth and exploration, and been so amazing to be able to bring the stories of other women um, to others around the world, to hopefully inspire them to tap into their own greatness and live the life that they were meant to live.
That's great. That's great. Tell me your secret. You said 25 years of marriage. I mean, I
I
am
know.
married. Yeah, I am married for almost 17 now. So, what is your secret? I mean,
Oh
25 is
gosh.
a very good number.
It is. It is. Yeah, my husband and I met a long time ago, back when I was 16 and he was 19, and we dated off and on, kind of through our university college years, and eventually got married after I finished my schooling in college. And it's been a lot of ups and downs, but I really feel like uh, a big thing for us is that we have always kept our communication really strong, even in times where maybe it dips, and
Mm.
we have periods where we're maybe not on the same page, maybe not exactly getting along. But that's always been something that we've come back to, is our commitment to staying in communication, to not shutting each other out, but trying to talk through things, work through things. And then I think the other big thing for us has always been, we've really tried to be each other's biggest cheerleader and really support one another in whatever we want to pursue. So that's always been huge, among probably a bajillion other things, but those are the two things that kind of come to mind.
Yeah, and you know what? It's they are the basics of a
Hmm.
successful marriage: communication and understanding. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm always saying that when there is no communication, or when you abandon the effort to communicate, truly communicate, and truly be present with your partner, with your husband, to understand what's really going on, and you go into this selfish mode, oh, he doesn't care, I don't care, I don't want to
Yes,
take the first step, then there at that point there is a thin line if the relationship is going to work or not.
hmm, yes, I agree. Yeah.
And yes, a marriage is a lot of effort. A relationship, it takes effort,
Hmm.
but why not? Why be in a relationship where you're suffering? What's the point? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, life is too short for that, right?
Exactly. So you told me that he's your cheerleader, yeah? Must be
Yes.
very fulfilling to have someone to support you while you're doing and you're creating the career that you want. And I believe this is what's going on in your life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that's been huge. And I know I'm very, very fortunate in that regard. I had a career in education for a while when we were first married, and then when I started a family, I stepped away from that and really tried to find my voice. And I dabbled in a lot of different things. I was a fitness and nutrition coach for a while, which I loved, but really what stemmed from that or what came from that was just a realization that I think, women in general, like I did, really struggle with their internal
Mm.
voice and what's going on inside their head. And if they can't get that straight, and if you can't get a grip on that, then all the other things are never going to stick. Things like a solid nutrition plan or a solid fitness plan. And so I kind of circled back to that and tried to really hone in on that piece and how I could maybe provide inspiration and motivation in that regard. Um, and so I think, the podcast birthed out of that, but along that whole journey, along that whole path,
Mm.
it was great to have my husband there in the background that was saying, go for whatever you want to do. And, you've got to find what's going to be the best fit. And, was just super supportive in finding that. And I knew that whatever I did, I wanted it to be something obviously that was going to be worthy of the time, because taking time away from him and from my kids at times, I needed it to fit. I needed it to work. And so there was a lot of, back and forth and just figuring out what was going to be best for me.
Yeah, and that's great. But I believe the other ingredient, because I said two things, the one is communication. I
Yeah.
believe the second big ingredient, if I may call it ingredient, is the fact that you put yourself up front as your
Hmm.
priority. Yeah.
Hmm.
And you decided that this is what I want to do, I believe. You decided. And
Yes.
then
Yeah.
how about self-care? How about self-love? Because it's not an easy journey from being employed to become an entrepreneur, to run your own business, to try to grow your business, to try to
Just think
find
we
your
froze a
way.
bit.
Yeah, you're frozen. Can you hear me? Hello. This is the magic of the internet. Delia. Until Delia manages to to be back online, I was gonna ask her, hello, unmute yourself. You're back. Yeah, perfect.
There we
Can
go.
you hear
Sorry.
me
I don't
now?
know what happened.
The
I can hear
magic
you.
of the
Yep.
internet. It's okay.
I know. It's okay. It's okay. We're still working.
Yeah,
So you were saying, yeah.
I was saying about to be able to do this, it's also
Hmm.
important, apart from your husband's support, the great communication, a big uh, another part is self-care, self-love, and believe in what you're trying to do. And I would like to ask you how much or what is the percentage that you attribute to self-care and confidence in yourself about going after your dream to help women find their voice. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a huge part. I am so far from having it all together, so far from perfect by any means. And I feel like I'm always, the constant learner. And I really do learn something from every guest that I bring on my podcast. But I've also realized that, um, if I'm going to pour into anyone else, if I'm going to be, the best wife I can be, the best mom I can be, that I really have to have my own head screwed on straight. And a lot of that has to do with myself, spending time, um, doing the things that fill me up, the things that fuel me. And, for me, it's having, yes, some time in the morning to kind of write out my thoughts and, have a gratitude practice and kind of gather myself before I hit the ground running. And then it's taking time for myself, whether that's, getting a workout in, you know, uh, getting a massage every now and then. I mean, all those things that go along with self-care, and it doesn't have to necessarily be, those things, but it's as a whole. I think just prioritizing the fact that I know for me, things like moving my body and fueling my body in the right way are huge if my mindset is going to be what I need it to be able to give back and to be able to have that confidence in myself. I've learned that, over the years, the things that I really need to be doing that kind of keep me moving forward. And if they're not in place in my life, then I really struggle to do any of it well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's important. And I love the fact that you mentioned move my body.
Hmm.
Because what I found out through my line of work is that we become very stiff as
Hmm.
women
Yeah.
because we have taken so much the masculine role in
Mm.
our careers. So we try to compete with men like a man.
Yeah.
So we also have adopted this stiff posture. And at the end of the day, it makes us more harm than good. And
Mm.
one of the ways to get back into your body, into your feminine essence is movement. And I'm
Yeah.
so happy that you mentioned that because self-care is not just the spa and
Right.
the massages and stuff. Self-care is just deciding that I just want to sit down, have a
Yeah.
cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and just be in a calm, beautiful way with myself. And I'm okay to be with myself.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And I think that that piece is something that is probably even for myself in some ways the most difficult, being someone who's constantly in motion, who's type A, who's very go go go. But that I know super important for me. And I imagine for most women, because I know when I take that piece out and I go too many days where I am on just high mode and I am going from one thing to the next, one activity to the next, and no time to slow down is when I'm probably the most unpleasant person to be around because I get into burnout mode and I'm short and I have zero patience and it's just not a good thing. So I think you're exactly right. I think it's important to take that time, but you got to know yourself and you got to know your limits and you got to know what is going to be best for you, what's going to really fuel you and help you to be able to move forward. I mean, it's important for you to take that time because if you don't, I don't think, any of us are going to be good for anyone else, let alone, ourselves. I think it really starts with our own headspace and what's going on inside of us if we're going to really be the best we can be for anyone else.
Yeah, I agree. And the next question just popped into my mind. And that's another example that you
Yeah.
haven't pre-practiced this. But, there are lots of women out there that they believe that to put yourself first and to do what we are talking about right now is
Mhm.
selfish. You know,
Yeah.
they believe that we need to be martyrs or at the bottom of the priority list
Mhm.
so we to perceived as accepted or as good enough or for people to love us. And what do you
Mm.
have to say about this to these women
Oh yeah. I
that
mean,
believe it's
I
selfishness to self-care?
I get that. Yeah, I definitely, I no, I think that's absolutely, I understand where that's coming from because I think as women, we are so often the caretakers and we are the ones that keep it all together. I mean, I feel like that in my own life. I feel like, my husband would be in deep trouble if I was not around to pick up all the pieces and to know all the ins and outs and that's a great role. I take that on, willingly, acceptingly, but I also know that I can't do those things if I'm not taking any time for myself. And so all I can say is I feel like you can't afford not to do those things, in your life because you're really going to, I think you're really shortchanging your ability. It seems counterintuitive and counterproductive to take those minutes, that half hour, whatever it is for you. Um, but I think if you implement it and you make it a priority and you make it a habit, that you'll soon see that you are operating on a totally different level when you are taking that time for yourself.
Yeah, and when you learn to, I mean, use, as you say, use your voice
Hmm.
to really express what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think in your line of work, you and with your discussions that you're having in your podcast, you come across many women that they never express how they truly feel, or they don't even know their needs,
Hmm.
what they need to, in order for them to take the next step, to trust, to allow their voice to come out. Is that, have you seen that with your guests or with your line of work?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Just a second here. Yes, I definitely have seen that. And I, yeah, I think it's always been a priority. I don't know a woman that I've had on that's been able to move forward in their own life and really have the impact that they have had without taking that time, especially I think that time to slow down and to pause. I think that's so huge. Um, like I said before, it's probably one of the most challenging things I know I do is trying to find that time to pause and to slow down and to just be. But every person I feel like that I've had on, that when I've asked them the question of, how did you come to that realization? And, it's basically been something along the lines of, well, I had to take the time, enough to actually get present with what was going on inside my own head and listen to my inner voice. And you cannot hear, I think, that inner voice. You can't hear what's going on truly and how you truly feel and acknowledge it when you are just going 100 miles an hour all of the time and you don't give yourself any grace, any time to just step back and take that time for you.
Yeah. And also, I want to throw something else. We need to add boundaries.
Yeah.
We need to start using the word no.
Hmm.
Do you use it often? Do you find it easy to express it? The word
um
no?
I think it's hard for me because I'm a real people pleaser.
Mm,
I am very type A, I can get stuff done. I'll do it myself. Yes, I'll take that on. But I have definitely learned to say, I want to do this. This is how I want to spend my time, and this is how I don't. And sometimes that goes with, maybe decisions that I make in terms of what I'm going to do outside of my work time or time with my family in terms of who I choose to spend my time with. Um, and a lot of times though, it's saying yes to the right things in terms of commitments.
yeah.
And that's another thing that I've really had to get good at. I mean, any of you who are parents and you have kids in school, that there's so many asks all the time for our time to volunteer or to do this or to do that. And